Welcome back, everyone. Come on in. Come on in. Welcome back. Welcome back. All right. Veda, what did you guys talk about in your breakout? Share with me the reflections from the group.
It was really sweet. Ray was actually just sharing right before we got off. Just talking a lot. I think about I know the two Anna and Ray both talked about like genuinely the crossover of like actually pulling leads. So content that's put out not just for content, but actually like calling people in so to make sales and to connect with people. And I definitely, yeah, was relating and kind of branching off into like, yeah, my challenges have been in the crossover for me personally, like with activism and also with showing up in my business and how the crossover really is. Because a lot of how I've been showing up on social media personally has been activism in my personal account, but then I have an art account and I have a water account. So there's like this thing happening, and what I was talking about with them was just that the information is there for me to put on social media and that's like the focus, but the in-person stuff is where my focal point will be. But the social media is important with the cross. Here's like connecting, here's my social media, or like here's my website, and how we can build relationships through that, how we're actually creating a connecting force with like whatever we're doing. Because I know Anna and I both are in like different sects of like the water business, and like that's a really particular kind of like support system for the community and for the world. But it's like everyone, you know, like the way she's doing it and the way I'm doing it is like it's so different, and how we're weaving together with that is really cool. I'm kind of like branching off a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing those reflections. I think it's super important to look at and address like where, like in what ways do we want to share about important like social political topics that are meaningful to us, and like in what ways does that interact with our business? How does social media interact with our business? And I think that's a big part of those social media boundaries as well. Like it can be different for everybody depending on where you're at and how you feel about these particular things. So I'm glad that you guys were able to have that conversation and those reflections. Thanks for sharing. Let's go. Tilly, are you with us?
I am, yes, I am.
Can you share with me a little bit about what your group talked about?
Yeah, we both spoke about messaging. Our goal is to obviously convert people and do things that actually move the needle in our business. And at the moment we're struggling. I've been in business for about 3 months doing social media and content creation. And Jessica's been doing it for about 6 months. She sells a product and she's thinking about, you know, messaging, and sometimes she wants to give up because she hasn't got time to obviously nurture people in DMs or obviously cold emailing ideally. But I don't know. I was telling her that cold emailing works better on LinkedIn. For social media, obviously it's better to nurture, but if you haven't got the time, because she's like a mother of 2 and I'm a mother of 1, so it's a bit challenging to have all basically your free time which you don't have, and then you're basically nurturing someone slowly into converting them from a potential lead to actual sales. It can be a bit long-winded as a process. So yeah, messaging mainly, really.
Yeah, and that was the shared challenge that you guys were talking about there with the messaging.
Yeah.
And the time commitment. Yeah. Thanks so much for sharing. Yeah, that's something, that's why I said yesterday, you know, the amount of time that you spend on this outreach strategy is so much going to depend on where you're at and what you have available to you. So if that's 30 minutes a week where you just do like as many messages as you can within that time, then put that on the calendar, you know, and make that space for it. If it's not something that you have the time for, consider, using a virtual assistant or somebody to do outreach for you, so that it's something that you can just kind of pass along and delegate out. And if you're at the beginning of your business and the financial, there's the financial piece there, there are different options for virtual assistants that can be, it's a scale. Like, you can find like very, very affordable people. You can put a cap on it of like, I have $100 a month to spend, so this is what I'm going to do. And then you can look at how many hours are they able to work, and delegate things in that way. And then you can just continue to expand, because in my opinion, the outreach strategy has been the fastest converting strategy for me personally, until you mentioned like it can be kind of this long-winded process. And so that's what we want to kind of avoid when we're looking at a DM strategy. Of course, we want to nurture people, but the goal is to get them in the door to something that can nurture them even faster and quicker, like a direct kind of engagement. So, for example, when I do my nurturing process with people in the DMs, I'm only exchanging maybe like 5 or 6 messages with them before I'm actually getting on a call with them to talk. And if you don't have a lot of time, what you can do is do maybe like a group focused event at a specific time when you have support with childcare, or when your child's going to be down, for sleep or this or that, right? So there's different ways that you can set it up to work for your lifestyle, your environment, your situation, your child's schedule, your schedule, within all of that. So I'm glad you brought that up. Very cool. Was there anything that you guys took away from yesterday, if anybody wants to share? A big takeaway that's already kind of lit a fire within you or activated something new for yourself, for your business. And you guys can just unmute and share. Any reflections?
I think I picked up the affirmations and the YouTube links that you sent, and just having a more positive perspective about, because sometimes you're making all the effort and it's not producing the results, but you gotta have that mindset almost like, I'm gonna win no matter what. Do you know what I mean? So I'm gonna push a little bit harder, or be a bit more proactive with what I'm doing for the next, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. How long can I go? And it's about showing yourself that you are able to achieve the results that you have determined to achieve, as opposed to giving up when it looks hard. So the affirmations are good. Obviously, I haven't listened to all of them, I'm not gonna lie, but so far so good. It seems like a good thing to practice when your motivation is dying, I suppose, because of competition and what you see online.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like that was a big takeaway for a lot of people, those resources for the mindset. And it's a really big thing. Something that you said, Tilly, is like, seems like something that's really important when you start to lose motivation. And I actually recommend listening to these and making this a part of your daily practice, as much as possible, as almost like a preventative form of getting out ahead of that place, so that even when that time comes that we start to lack motivation, that we start to doubt ourselves, that we start to lose confidence, because it's inevitable that it will happen to all of us at different stages, especially for the women in the room, like different stages of our menstrual cycle. I know every time I'm in luteal phase, it's like I start to question everything. So when we consistently do these affirmations, listen to the subconscious reprogramming tools, we're kind of getting out ahead of it, so that when these times come, it's so much easier to pull ourselves out of it or to lean back onto these practices, because we've established such a routine with it. Super important for that foundation to be strong. So I love that you guys are taking away that as a big reflection. It's super important to have that solid foundation. Awesome. Well, I'm loving these reflections today. It's so good to see you guys here for day 2. And we're just going to dive right in to content creation today. There's so much to cover, so let's get into it. First of all, I want to know, you can raise your hand, you can drop it in the chat, you can do a reaction. Who in this room spends way too much time creating content than you actually want to be? Like, you just end up finding yourself, you set 30 minutes to create content, you set up an hour to create content, and suddenly you've been doing it all day and you're like, what just happened? It happens to me sometimes. Yeah, Tilly's laughing. Okay, so if you don't end up spending like too much time creating content, who feels like they're not spending enough time creating content? Like, you know you want to do it, you know it's a priority for your business, you know that you probably have fun when you start doing it, but you just can't seem to motivate yourself to do it. Yeah, Anna says me recently. Yeah, totally. Marcia has those moments too. We all have those moments. So who ends up creating content but not actually posting it? Like, you spend the time to create it, you make it, you get it to this point, and then you're just like, I don't know if I should actually post this. I don't know if it's good. Yeah, totally. That's super normal too. Just kind of that imposter syndrome comes in and is like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't post this. I don't know if it's good enough. Totally. I can totally relate because I've been in all of those positions before through waves of my life. And honestly, it used to take me like an hour to make one reel, to write a caption, and sometimes even longer. Sometimes I'd spend all that time working on it and then I'd never post it because of some fear that it wouldn't be good enough. And other times I'd be feeling so guilty that I hadn't created or posted anything for a few days because I'm like, oh, I'm trying to make moves in my business and I haven't posted anything. Am I even, you know, gonna be successful? Can I even do this, right? And you've probably heard a million times how important it is to be consistent with your content on social media, right? And there's varying opinions on whether you should post daily, once a week, once a month. I think for a while this thing was even going around where people were saying post 3 times a day on all social media platforms. Holy crap, that's so much. That's a lot. And if you have the time, you have the energy, you have the motivation, and you want to do that, then I don't think that's going to hurt you, your business or your page, if you're posting that much. But I would be concerned about burnout for sure. We don't have to go that hard to get seen and to have success on social media, okay? Consistency is super important, but what consistency looks like is going to be different for each person. Similar to what we're talking about with the DM strategy, how much time you spend on that DM strategy, it's the same thing for content creation. So if you have the goal of visibility, you want to grow your following, or you want to have sales, can everybody comment in the chat? What is your goal with social media right now? Is it mainly visibility and growing a following, or is it mainly sales and conversions through your content? And drop it in the chat. Yeah, Anna says both. Jessica, sales and conversions. Kaveda says education and both. Sales and conversions both. Okay, yeah, so it sounds like a lot of you guys have, you know, the goal of having both, which is really, really great. So now I want you guys to drop in the chat, are you looking for fast growth, or are you looking for or open to a slower, more steady growth with your socials? And just drop it in the chat. Fast growth or slow growth? Slow and steady, Tilly says. Love it. Sustainable, Marcia says. Open to any growth, Jessica says. I love that too. I love that because it can be fast growth, like out of the blue, right? But this is just going to help us understand how often we're going to be posting. Open to either. Great. So this is a really important question. I want you guys to reflect and drop in the chat. How much time per week do you have to commit to this, to marketing on social media for your business? Is it 1 to 2 hours per week? Is it 4 to 6? Is it more? Drop it in the chat. One to 2 hours, 4 to 6, 2 to 4, roughly. How many hours do you have? All right, Lily says 8. Anna has 2 hours a day. And this is just for content creation and let's say like DM strategy, right? Ray has 8 hours, Marcia's 4 to 6, Jessica 2, perfect. So for those of you who said you have about 2 hours per week, and let's say you want to grow on Instagram specifically, I would recommend getting a foundation of posts out to your page. So you have roughly like 2 posts going out per week, and you're focused primarily on engagement and outreach. So this means creating content in advance and scheduling that out to post, twice a week. And then the rest of your time that you have left over, focus that on your engagement and outreach strategy, because the goal is going to be getting that foundation of posts out there and then reaching out to people to get more eyes on those posts that you're putting out there, so that you can then boost that engagement, which means that your posts are going to be naturally getting seen by more people as well. If you want fast growth on Instagram and you have 4 to 6 hours or more, then I would recommend that you're posting 5 times per week. So once per day, if we're looking at like, the typical business week, Monday through Friday, and then focus on your engagement and interact with your stories as well. That's going to be really important for building more of a personal connection with people. And if you have that much time, then you can definitely be bulk creating, 5 posts per week, schedule it out, and then focusing on that engagement. And then if you are comfortable with that slow growth and you have about 1 to 2 hours per week, I would say posting twice per week is good. And again, you can schedule it out so you kind of do it all in a bulk way. And then do your outreach once per week. Maybe that's for 30 minutes if that's what you have. So regardless of what you decide to do, regardless of what schedule makes sense for you, I would recommend sticking to something for a couple of months so that you can kind of collect the data and see the changes happen. When you start implementing a new strategy on social media, it usually takes at least 3 months to see the ball start to roll. When you're doing the DM outreach strategy more consistently, you're going to see that move a lot faster because you're intentionally bringing more people to your page every single day. But if you're doing the DM outreach once per week, you're posting, 2 times per week, it's going to be a slower change, a slower growth process. You want to give it time. That consistency is super key, regardless of how consistent that looks for you or what that consistency looks like, because expansion doesn't often happen overnight unless you've been consistent for that period of time. So now you have an idea of how often you want to post and do all that, but how do you actually hold yourself accountable to do this process? So I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and I'm going to share a resource in the chat. Let's see. So here's a link in the chat, and this is actually a content calendar template that I created. This is in Notion, so if you don't already have a Notion account, you'll just be prompted to create an account so you can access it. And this is what I use for my social media accounts. This is what I use for all of my clients. And this is a really great way to keep track of what's going on and kind of get out ahead of yourself so that you have that consistent plan going on. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen and walk you guys through it really quick just to show you how it works. All right. Everyone can see this? Great. Okay. So first things first, when you come down here, there's all these different ways to view the content. So if we're looking at the first tab, this says all posts, and this is just going to list all of the posts in a list. And this is really, really great if you are having tons of ideas come through. You're like, yes, I want to talk about, this particular thing about the product I'm selling. Yes, I want to talk about, how important it is to track your menstrual cycle for business as a woman. I want to talk about how important it is to get into nature. Like whatever ideas you have flowing through you, you can just click this new button down below and then type it in. 5 herbs for cold season. Oh, that's so funny. I already did that example, but you get the idea. And then we can change the status here. Obviously, this is in the brainstorming phase, so we're going to select brainstorming. But let's say we do a little bit more to it. We can change the status so that you can keep track of where things are at in the process. You can also choose the account. Let's say you have multiple social media accounts. You can actually plan all of your content for all your accounts in one place, which is going to help you for maybe cross-posting, sharing through multiple different platforms, and just having like a pretty streamlined view for everything. And you can also choose the platform. So if you are pretty limited on time, I would recommend focusing on one platform at a time. If you're just starting, I recommend focusing on one platform at a time. There's no reason you need to be posting across Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Snapchat. Like, I don't even know, like, it's too much. It's too much. When you get to a point where you have a team and you have extra support and you have a lot more time, then it totally makes sense to tap into multiple platforms. To start out, just focus on where are the people who I'm trying to connect with? Where do they live? What social media platforms are they using? What is my favorite platform to use in the first place? What do I actually enjoy using? For me, like, I love using Instagram. It's one of my favorite platforms. So that is my main focus. So, but I have all the options here. So you can select what works for you. And if you're going to cross-post it across multiple places, you can select multiple platforms as well. So then we have this approval status column. And this is just in here, just in case you are working with a virtual assistant or you have clients you create content for and you need to have them approve that content before you put it out. So, it's either not reviewed, in review, needs editing, or it's approved. And then we have a production date and a post date. So let's say you're producing something like a podcast, or you're producing something like a long form piece of YouTube content, or something that just has a little bit more production involved. You can actually select the date that you're going to produce that piece of content. And then you can select the date that you plan to post it by. So let's say if I'm producing a piece of content by the 19th, I want to have it out by the 26th. Okay. And then you can also select the content type. So is it a podcast, a carousel post on Instagram? Is it a graphic, a static post, long form, short form? And we're going to get into the specifics of what all this means in a little bit too. But let's say it's a short form video. And then this tab over here, this is where you can link important visuals. If there's videos, if there's a cover photo, if there are any graphics that you're going to be using for this project, you can upload them or you can embed a link. I personally like to use Google Photos because I can upload all of my content and then I can get a shareable link that I can just click, connect here, and then my whole team can see that content. And if even if it's just you, it helps a lot to go ahead and link this content here. So if you want to repost or reshare something in the future, you have the content right here. You don't have to go search through your library to find that specific piece of content. You have the visuals here ready to go. Okay, so let's take a deeper look. If I come up here, you'll see posting calendar, and when I click on it, it brings me to a different view. And this is the same content that I already just put in the database, just in a different view. So now we can see it more as a calendar, which is super helpful visually to see what's going on. So we can see this is what I just put in, and it's here as the post date for the 26th. Now, if we want to look at just the production calendar, that is right here as well. And that's going to show us when we actually plan to produce that particular piece of content. So this is a great way to keep yourself accountable during your content days. If you schedule out specific time to just focus on creating content, you will know exactly what you're working on that day, and you'll have all of your notes, all of your information right there. So with any of these views, you can very simply just click on each item here, and then you can see all of the information we already put in. And you can also write your notes here. So this is where I would type out my post caption, because so many times I've typed out that caption on Instagram and then the app crashes or something happens and you lose it. And then you have to remember everything that you just typed. So we're not going to be doing that because we're trying to save time. We're trying to save energy, and we're not trying to like waste time writing things a million times. So I just put it in here. And this is where I can also do my brainstorming. So you can just put in, brainstorm, type what you need to type, and then you can put in caption, type what you need to type. And you can also add a little checklist here. So let's say you are doing a reel, and with Notion, if you just click this little slash icon on your keyboard, or you can scroll over here and click the little plus button, and it'll bring up all these different options of things that you can do. So I'm gonna just select to-do list, and then I have these little check boxes. And maybe it's like I need to design a cover photo, add captions, write post caption, and then as I go through, I can check them off and just keep track of where I'm at with everything. Okay, in any view you can access this. If I go back here to the list, you would just click where it says open, and then here we go. We've got all the details, and then you can expand that by clicking this as well. And if you work with a team of people, you can also leave comments for each other here. So maybe I'm going to say add captions, and I'm going to tag Kennedy since she's on my team here, right? And then once I click enter, she would get that notification and know that there's some editing to do to the video. Okay, so I'm going to go back. We can close this, and there's a couple of other views I just want to go through real quick. This one is posts by platform. So this is going to show you, if you are managing multiple platforms, what posts are going out where. You can very easily, see this one obviously is going out to 3 platforms, so we can easily see that. We can also easily see what posts do not have a platform. So then we can say, okay, this is going to be really great for Instagram, and we can pull it over and add it there. If you do move things around, it's going to change the properties in here as well. Okay, so then we have posts by status, and this is just showing us what posts are in what stage when. So we can see this post is in the brainstorming phase. That means I'm going to go here on days that I am not having a lot of ideas flowing. I don't really know what I want to post or what I want to create. So I'm going to come over here and tap into this vault of ideas that I've already logged in here during a day when I had so many ideas I couldn't even create all of them in one day. And then I can come in and I can see what else needs to happen to this. Okay, we still need to write the caption. Great, let's focus on that next. And you can go from there. Then you can also see what posts are drafted. So if you have things that are totally done, they just need to be scheduled or posted. This is a really easy way to come and see, okay, what do I just need to schedule out and get onto the platform? And then if you are working with a team or clients, there's this needs approval section as well, where you can see exactly what posts still need to be approved and reviewed to get posted. Awesome. I also have another little resource here. This is the Instagram caption counter, because I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I really love to write long stories in my captions. I don't do this all the time, but if it makes sense, I will. And sometimes it can be so easy to go way over the caption count. So I will just open this up and I can paste in the caption and make sure that the length is a good length. All right. Was this helpful for you guys? Are you excited to check out that content calendar? Are you guys still with me? There you are. Yes, it was helpful. Okay, awesome. So happy to hear that. Yeah, a content calendar can change the game when it comes to planning out content and keeping yourself accountable for actually showing up and doing the thing. So what are some other ways that we can keep ourselves accountable? I mentioned earlier scheduling time in for doing your DM strategy. So we can also schedule in time to show up for our content on social media. If this is your main source of marketing, showing up and doing this is an absolute non-negotiable every single week. Getting content out consistently and reaching out to people, connecting with people on these platforms is a non-negotiable. So it's super important to schedule time for yourself where you know you can be focused, where you know you can, do what you need to do. And if you have kids, maybe plan it during the nap time, or maybe plan it for a time when they're, going to bed. And there's many other ways to create content even without having to schedule out specific time for it. This is just one way to do it. And this kind of goes for people, if you have a product, if you have information where you do want to create some more curated content, maybe you want to show an experiment, a test, there's something that is really specific you want to talk about. That's when I would recommend, scheduling time to film those kinds of content, or to create, scheduling time to create your graphics or your carousels, so that you just make sure it gets done. Okay, and again, that can be like literally 30 minutes a week. That could be an hour. It could be 2 hours. It's going to depend on what your strategy is and how often you're posting and how much time you actually have to work with. So now that you have a place for all of your content to live and come to life, do you guys want to know how I create a ton of content in a short period of time? Can you comment 333 in the chat if you're with me on this? Yeah. All right. 333. Let's do it. Let's dive in. So to start, it's super important to have clarity about what you even focus on your page. This is going to be like the foundation for all of your content creation processes. Super important to understand the different types of content and when it makes sense to use them and how to repurpose content as well. So first things first, we're going to talk about content pillars. Does anyone know what a content pillar is? Does anyone already have their content pillars picked out? You can unmute or you can drop it in the chat. Yeah, Marsha already has content pillars. That's great. Anyone else? Nice. Jessica's got her. It's educational, entertainment, inspiration. Same. Cool. So that's super great. I love that you guys already have some content pillars. So I'm just going to go over this super quickly so that maybe it'll help you refine your content pillars or get some more clarity on how you're actually using them. So take a moment to think about your business. What are the 3 themes or more broad topics that you could talk about forever? If you're unsure, you can drop your niche or like the work that you do, the people you're trying to connect with, and we can workshop it together. It also helps to understand who your ideal client is, what do they need, and how can you speak to those needs through your content. Keep in mind that these pillars and your ideal client is absolutely allowed to change and shift depending on where you are growing and shifting, right? I do recommend giving it roughly 3 to 6 months before changing it, but if your heart is calling you to change before then change. We're always going to be growing, and that means that what we talk about is going to grow and change too. So if you find yourself going through a branding transition, it can also be super helpful to get support through the process to make sure that you're honoring the current audience that you've built. So you don't want to just go like overnight, I've been talking about all these topics, now I'm talking about all these different topics. It can be really confusing for the people who are already following you, who came to you for a specific reason, to then go into like a whole different thing. So once you have clarity on what and who you're talking to in your content, we need to address what kind of content to create as well. So we can break it down real simple. Reels or short form content is great for TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, and it's a great form of visibility and reach. So these are the posts that are going to find your new people, and more people are going to engage in those types of posts because that short form content, it gives people more of an experience for people to actually like see who you are, hear your voice, see your face, connect with your mission, connect with your story, connect with who you are. So if you are looking for growth and more visibility, more reach, more following, then I would focus mainly on creating that short form video content. But if you're wanting to do more conversion, you already have a pretty engaged audience, then I would recommend doing some more posts and carousels to connect even deeper with your audience. Those posts and those carousels are going to be for the audience that is already engaged in your story, already engaged in your mission, and they want to know more. They want to go deeper with you. So creating these posts with a longer caption or creating these carousels where people swipe through a story and then they read a caption, that's going to be for the people who are more engaged and they're willing to sit there and read through the deeper details of your story, of what you're offering, what you're selling, what your mission is, whatever it may be. So those posts are really great for driving more conversion and nurturing your current audience. And then long form content like YouTube videos or podcasts are really, really great for creating authority in your niche and using, education or relevant storytelling to really connect with your audience. You can also do this through something like a live event as well. This is like considered a form of long form content as well, even if it's live. And Instagram lives are also great for this as well. Even if it's a 20-minute, 15-minute Instagram live, like on Instagram, that's considered kind of long form content as well. And this gives you the opportunity to interact. It gives you the opportunity to show your expertise and all of that. So you can actually create one piece of content and end up with 5 different pieces of content, maybe even more, depending on the way that you do it. This is a huge time saver. And if you're really wanting to cut back on the amount of time you're creating content, or you want to create more, become more consistent, and you don't want to commit more time to creating content, then I would definitely recommend kind of taking one idea and expanding it into multiple pieces of content. Plus, you can then repost that content that does well down the line. So if you post something and you see it does really well, wait like a couple weeks, a month or so, depending on how often you are posting. And then you can repost that same exact piece of content, same caption, same reel, same photo, everything, just repost it again. Or you can take the same idea and recreate it into different forms of content. Like let's say you have a reel that does really well, and the topic can be broken down into a carousel. So then you're hitting multiple people depending on the type of content that they prefer and the way that they learn and receive information. So there's a couple of different ways that you can, change it up. You can even take a reel and just tweak the caption on the screen or tweak the text a little bit and experiment to see which one does better. So this is great, but what do you do when you're having a creative block and you can't think of any new ideas? Well, I'm a true believer in working with your cycles and seasons over trying to push through when you don't have the juice to, come up with new things. We don't need to be constantly on all the time. We don't need to constantly be coming up with brilliant ideas all the time. So I absolutely love batch creating content and just documenting my life. Especially, we talked about yesterday how much people are craving that authenticity and how all of us in this room are really craving showing up more authentically on social media as well. The curated content can be nice for hitting specific topics, specific forms of education, depending on your niche and what you're sharing. Like, for example, I know there's a lot of people in here in water filtration and ionization, and education is a big piece of that. So there might be certain forms of content that you curate specifically for that. But if you have a business that kind of leans more into the lifestyle niche, you do coaching, even if you do the water business as well, and you want to be building a team, then that's going to be more in the lifestyle area. Documenting your life is a great way to create a lot of content in very little time. And it doesn't take a lot of effort either. So this is what helps me stay so consistent with my social media. And I'm curious, does anyone in here already batch create content? Like you kind of set some time and you just take a bunch of clips, or you film a bunch in one day and then you post it down the line?
I do.
Awesome. Yeah, super, super helpful. So even if you're already doing this, I have some tips that are going to help you double that content within just a few minutes. Yeah, Anna said, I'm always filming B-roll. Ray says, I usually save clips and do my text in one day and save in a folder. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so as we're going through our day-to-day lives, like you're hanging out with your kids, you're making breakfast, you're making dinner, you're mowing the lawn, you're like doing your day-to-day life things, or maybe you're going on a big adventure, it can be as exciting or as mundane as it is in the moment for you. It can even be emotional. And something that I do when I am going through big emotions about my business, I will actually set the camera up and I will process with the camera as if it was a mirror. Some of you may have heard of mirror work before, which is when you are sitting in front of a mirror and you're talking to yourself and you're processing your emotions to the mirror. So I do the same thing, but I do it with a camera and I actually record my processes. And then I go through and I find these little pockets of moments in my process that are monumental, that are transformative, that are expansive, that take me from I don't know what I'm doing to, oh my God, I have so much clarity. And I share those little snippets. And that's a really great way to connect in a very authentic, very real way with your audience. Some of you may have seen a recent reel I posted where I'm like talking about being in luteal phase, and I'm like, being a woman in business is sometimes like everything is so clear, I have it all together, and then all of a sudden you're like, I want to burn it all to the ground. I don't think I can do this. And that reel resonated with so many people. it performed probably the best. And I wasn't sure if I was going to post that because I was like, oh my God, this is so cringy. This is so vulnerable. Like, this is real. Like, this is a real moment that I'm going through. And I posted it and it did really well because people connected to that. People experienced that. And because we're all craving that authenticity, when we're able to share those real, raw, emotional moments of like the ups and downs of what we're going through, or like the process that we're going through with our business, or if you're working with a product, like, this is what it's like to not have the thing. Like, I'm going through a time where I don't have the thing that I usually have that's supporting me. And this is what that experience is like. And this is what it's like once I have the thing again. And I feel so much better. Right? That's just an example of how you could implement that. So I focus on creating content mainly in my follicular phase as a woman with a menstrual cycle, because that's when we're the most magnetic. That's when we're the most clear. It's when we're the most energized. And during this time, I'll just pop up my phone and record random thoughts, epiphanies, client stories throughout my day as I'm sitting at my desk, taking a walk, making breakfast. And it allows me to be in a very natural, organic state while I record, inviting that vulnerability and authenticity into my feed as well. I also record those small moments like playing with my dogs, working on my computer, folding my laundry. And like I mentioned, I'll record those challenging times as well, even if I'm not feeling well. It helps me process what I'm going through, and it also allows me to tell that story in a very visual way of overcoming those challenges as well. So it gives me a wide variety of content to work with when I'm in the editing and creation phase of taking those clips and adding the text, adding the caption, all of that. So this is a form of batch creation, even though it's spread out and it's kind of random throughout my week as I'm just grabbing those little clips, right? One thing that is a fun thing, if you end up doing a photo shoot for anything in particular, you can have someone come along with you to just film little bits of that photo shoot as well. And that's a great way to also batch create content in a very clean, professional looking way. That's a little bit more curated, right? So it's up to you, like what feels best and what do you want to do. So now that we have all this content, what are we going to do about all the editing? Because usually that's what takes the most time. Like, we can just grab little clips here and there, but what about the editing? So to keep it really simple, there's a couple of tech options you can explore that will make your life a lot easier. The first one that I like to use is CapCut, and some of you guys may have already heard of this. CapCut is great for trimming down clips and adding automatic captions because it has an AI function. It just listens to your voice and can create the captions. You can also do this in Instagram as well. I find that having the captions in a specific way, for me, is more aesthetically pleasing and more consistent. I tend to scroll past like reels that have the in Instagram caption where it's kind of like, you know, coming together. That's just me. It's up to your preference, but I like to use CapCut for the captions. And that is a free or paid thing. There's a lot that you can do in it for free, so you really don't need the paid version unless you really want it. You can also use CapCut to create video memes because there's lots of templates of little, you know, meme things, and then you can just add a photo or add a video in the back with some text and create a meme that way. And that's a great way to connect with people through humor as well. I love making those. And then a paid version for editing is Premiere Pro. And this is what I use for long form videos, like for YouTube or even for podcasting. And it's a little bit more complex, but it can be very, very simple. I also use this to cut long form content into reels with captions. So this is one way you can make one piece of content and cut it down into smaller pieces of content. If you want to start a podcast, if you want to just like put on your camera and talk about your ideas for 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, you can then take this longer form video and cut it into sometimes like 5 to 10 small clips, depending on what you're talking about, the way you're talking about it, and all of that. But you can just go through and do it. And there are some AI versions of this. I personally like to go in and do it myself so that I can pull out specific topics. But if you really want to save time, you can use an AI editor to cut out those highlights as well. So something that is totally free and pretty easy to use is the native editor in Instagram or in TikTok. You just have to be very careful with this one. I'm sure most of us have experienced editing a reel or a photo in Instagram and then it crashes and we lose everything, or we post it and it's all like flashy and glitchy and weird. So it's super important to make sure that you are saving the reel as you're editing it in multiple stages. So like once I have all the clips together the way I want them, I will save it. Once I have all the text on the video, I will save it. And also, oftentimes if I'm doing a voiceover, I'll pull that into CapCut to do the voiceover, because so many times I've done it with the voiceover and everything, I forget to save it with just the voiceover, I add some music, and then you can't save it with the audio because you've added the copyrighted music. So either save it right after you do the voiceover before you add any other music, or bring it into CapCut to do that voiceover, bring it back and add your music on top. Super important because we don't want to be redoing it. That's how we can just waste a lot of time. So then also, if you want to do things like graphics or carousels, you want to add text on your photos, Canva is really amazing for so many reasons. It's free or there's a paid version, and you can have access to so many different like stock photos, stock videos, different fonts, different little graphics that you can add. And it's really a great resource for so many reasons. So how are we doing, you guys? I just want to check in because I see that most people have their camera off. So I just want to check in, make sure you're absorbing this, make sure you're still with me. Drop something in the chat. Okay, Marsha's there. I see Alfredo's there. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Okay, so I want to give a quick moment to give you guys the opportunity to ask some questions or workshop anything that I just talked about, because I know that was a lot of information. And I just want to give you guys the opportunity to share any reflections or questions. And you can just unmute and share, or you can drop it in the chat. Any questions, any reflections? Feeling good? All right, awesome, awesome, awesome. Do you guys want to take a quick break, or do you want to keep going? Anna's good to keep going. Anyone else? Keep going, keep going. Okay, cool, cool. So I want to take us into a bit of an exercise to get a bigger picture of your business as a whole. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys in just a minute, and we're going to walk through this together. And I really want everyone to be present for this. This is something that we're going to be doing together. So make sure that you can either that you can access the chat while we do this process, okay? Just give me 1 second while I pull all this up, and we'll get started. Okay. So we're going to go through a timeline exercise together. And first, I want to start off by asking you guys, in your business, what would like middle of the road growth look for you? What would just be like okay growth in your business a year from now? What would that look like for you? And type it in the chat. Would it look like having just like a couple of clients? Would it look like staying in the same place? It can be numbers as far as like, yeah, how many people are you working with? How much are you making in your business? It can be emotional. What's your emotional growth looking like as far as your confidence, being able to move through limiting beliefs and fears? So I just want to get like a full picture view of what that would look like for you guys. You're just like middle of the road. Maybe it means, you know, there hasn't been much growth. Maybe it means you're kind of in the same position you're in right now. And what would that look like? What would that feel like? And type it in the chat when you have it. Ray wants to increase private clients, create new in-person retreat offers, and reach 5K months consistently. So that sounds like your ideal goal, Ray. We're looking at like what is just like middle of the growth a year from now, not really expanding. Like to be further along, so may feel a little discouraged. Yeah, so Jessica would feel maybe like discouraged emotionally. And Ray, I'm gonna take that as like maybe middle of the road would be kind of at the same amount of private clients, same number of private clients, like not growing, but also not like decreasing, right? Yeah, no worries. We're gonna get there with the ideal vision too. Frustrated, sad. Okay. Anna says 5K months, 10 active team members, and that's where it would be for you, just like middle of the road, Anna. Am I getting that right? Based on where you're at now, a year from now, like 5K months and 10 active team members would be just like kind of consistent, kind of the same thing as where you're at now. That would be small growth. Okay. So 5K months, I'm just adding some notes here. Okay. So now let's look at what would your most ideal world look like? What would it feel like if you were exactly where you want to be in your business by next year? I'm just going to grab this, put it here. What would it look like in your most ideal world if you were exactly where you want to be in your business by next year? Again, that can be numbers, that can be emotional. Or is like the most ideal growth look like for you? Like, I am winning in life, I am hitting all my goals, I am expanding even beyond those goals. What would that look like? What would that feel like? And again, just drop it in the chat when you have it. Jessica is excited, motivated, coaching a team of women and making 5K months. Love that. Excited, motivated, making 5K months. So obviously, you know, that number is going to look different for different people. Coaching a team. Oops. For Anna, that would be 30 to 50K months. Awesome. Active team members. And I'm just going to put having support, so delegating tasks. Awesome. Serving clients, leading group events, feeling ease, calm, persevering, having support, time and financial freedom. Yeah, this is so good. This is so good. Awesome. Now I want to look at what would it look like if you were just like not doing so great. Like we've got the vision of what the ideal future looks like. So let's look at now, what would it look like? What would it feel like for what you consider to be a sense of failure? And I don't really like using that word, but let's just look at it as kind of like things went in the opposite direction. How would that look like? What would that feel like for you guys? And I want to note, like, no one plans to be in this position, but sometimes we find ourselves there. And so it's important to look at that. What would that look like? What would that feel like in your business a year from now on the opposite end of the spectrum? Not having new team members, stressed, yeah, totally anxious, back to the drawing board, right? Like starting over for sure. $2K months for Anna, people quitting, totally. So like I mentioned, nobody plans to get to this place. We're going to copy this over. Nobody plans to get to this place, but it can be really, really easy to slip back into that pattern without the mentorship, the community, the support resources, all of those things that really kind of help us along the way find our place, find ourselves again when we start to, you know, lose that motivation, when we start to get into that place of fear again, because it happens to all of us. And so having that strong community, having those resources, having that strong support system is so, so, so key for being an entrepreneur. Like, it's not easy to work for ourselves all the time. It's not always easy to figure it out. Sometimes it can feel very easy, and it can be easy, and it gets to be easy when we have that support system on the back end to make sure that we are showing up for ourselves, showing up for our business, that we're not losing hope, that we're not getting to that place of being stressed and anxious and having people quit on us. And what do we do when people do quit? How do we get to that place where we're having this, right? What steps do we need to take to get from here to here to here? So I want to show you guys how you can get to your most ideal goal faster. Is it okay if I show you what that looks like and we do another little exercise with this? Just want to make sure you guys are on board. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Awesome. Let's do it. So when we consider a circle, we have this energy that is feeding into itself repetitively, right? And I use this model to reflect on my business, but also for my clients as well. This is how we get to the goals faster. We use this visual. So first we start off with our mindset. That is the foundational piece, right? And we always come back around to it, but that is the foundation. So I want you guys in the chat to comment red light, yellow light, or green light for healthy boundaries. How do you feel in relationship to your personal boundaries with yourself, your relationships with your business? Are you a red light, like this part needs some work? Are you a yellow light, like it's okay, but definitely could use some improvement? Or are you a green light? Like, my boundaries are super good. I'm very clear. It's very easy for me to communicate and speak up for my boundaries. Go ahead and type in the chat where you're at in those areas, and we're going to do a self-assessment through this exercise. Anna says she's a yellow. Okay, and I'm going to just add the colors here as we go through. So we've got a yellow. Oops, we got disappearing ink on, so we gotta put the pen on. Okay, there we go. So we've got some decent yellow. Anyone else? Red, yellow, green? More yellow. Perfect. Okay, we're gonna move on to the next one. Seems like most of the group is in the yellow phase. So how about self-trust? How do you guys feel? Where are you at with your self-trust with yourself? You know, you are a red light if you feel like you really struggle to have discipline with yourself, to really trust yourself, to trust your instinct, listen to your intuition. Yellow if it's like, you know, it's okay, but it could use some work. Sometimes I trust myself, sometimes I don't. And then it's a green if you're like, yeah, I trust myself, I listen to my intuition, that feels easy for me. And drop it in the chat as we go through. Okay, we got green, yellow, green. Love it. I'm gonna put a little spot of yellow. Some green. A little more yellow, green. Okay. Totally. This is something that can fluctuate. Awesome. Now, where are you guys at with having so much clarity about your embodied mission? Like, you have embodied your mission, you live it, you know what you're here to do, and it's easy for you to show up for it. So red, if you're like, I'm not even sure what my mission is, so how can I even embody it? Yellow is like, I kind of have clarity, like, but I don't know how to take my own advice, or I don't know how to really embody that in my life. And then green is if you are like, yes, I am clear about my mission and I am living that mission every single day. I am totally in alignment with what I talk about. All right, we've got some yellows and some greens. So good. And it's really important, you guys, for this exercise, just be honest with yourself. Like, I'm not here judging you. No one here is judging you. This is just to kind of reflect and see where you're at, honestly, in your journey. Some yellow. Perfect. You guys are doing great. So the next area that we're looking at, like once we have all these pieces of mindset, we're going to look at creative strategy. So this is starting off with simplified systems. How many of you guys feel like, oh my God, I have no systems in my business. I am just like running around like a chicken with no head. I don't know what I'm doing. Everything is all over the place. I'm overwhelmed. That would be red. Yellow is like, I've got some things in place, but it's kind of working, kind of not working. I know it could be better. I know there could be some improvements. And then green is like, yeah, I have automations going on in my business. I'm super clear on every step of the way. I've got it together. My systems are clear, and I feel really good about that. Okay, I've got some green and yellow, got some red, yellow, yellow. Beautiful. So we got quite a bit of yellow going on. and we've got a spot of red. You guys are doing so good. Okay, so now let's look at consistent content, right? This is kind of a part of the creative strategy, social media strategy, marketing strategy, consistency. Where are you guys at with being consistent with your content? Are you like totally not consistent? Like I'm not even posting at all. I'll post once a month randomly when I feel like it. That would be red. Yellow is like I'm okay. Like I kind of show up whenever I want to, but I'm still pretty consistent with it. I post at least, you know, like a couple times a month. Green would be like, yeah, I'm showing up consistently on social media. Green. We got some green going on. I love that. Got some yellow. All right. Yellow for feed, posts, green in stories. Yeah. Okay, so it's kind of like green and yellow pretty much. That's great. So then we have time freedom. We all want time freedom, I think, as entrepreneurs. Like we all really want that flexibility and that time freedom piece. How many of you guys feel like you're at a place right now where you don't really have the time freedom that you're craving? Like you feel like you're kind of a slave to your business. You're just working all the freaking time trying to get things done. There's always something to take care of, to do. Yellow would be like, I'm pretty good with my time. Like I feel like I'd like a little bit more freedom, a little more flexibility. But I'm doing pretty good with it. I know I'm on the right track. And then green is like, yeah, I have total time freedom. I work when I want to work. I show up for my business. I don't have to do everything myself. I'm delegating to get some of my time back. See some yellow? Red, yeah, having a full-time job can be really tough to balance it all. See yellow, a little touch of red. I'm seeing mostly yellows here. Okay, great. So then when it comes to, once we have all these pieces of the puzzle, we're then going to look at our connected containers. And this is basically talking about any kind of container that you are establishing in your business, in connection, in relationship to your leads or your clients. So how do you guys feel about your communication? Are we red? Like I struggle with client communication. I struggle with my messaging. I struggle with communicating my needs. I struggle with communicating what I can offer people. I struggle asking for the price that I have for my product, my service. Yellow is like, sometimes I'm on it. Sometimes it's really good. Sometimes it's just not. And then green is like, I totally got this piece down. I'm really good at communicating about my offer. I'm great at communicating in messages with people, with clients, with leads, people I haven't spoken to. It's easy for me to talk about what I do. See some yellow, some red. And do a little splotch of red. Seems like we're pretty much even with that red yellow. Okay. And a splash of green. Boop. Nice. Okay, how are we feeling with the clarity of our offer? Red is like, I don't even know what I'm offering. I don't really even know what I'm doing. Yellow is like, yeah, I know exactly what I'm or not exactly, but I kind of know what I'm offering. I kind of know how I support people. I kind of know what I'm doing. And then green is like, yeah, I'm super clear about what I'm offering. I'm super clear about how I support people, how I provide for my clients, all of that. We got some green. So we got some green and some yellow. Okay, nice. So how do we feel about daily lead generation? Red is like, I don't have any leads coming into my business and I don't know how I'm even connecting with people. It's just so random. I don't have a plan. Yellow is like, yeah, I have leads coming in, but maybe it's not on a daily basis. And green is like, yeah, I have new leads coming in every single day through my social channels. So we've got some yellow. So we've got leads coming in. Ooh, that one got a little squiggly there. Okay, we've got some red and a lot of yellow. Totally. Okay, this is great. So obviously, you know, all these things are super important to have a thriving offer, and also to have effective outcomes, optimized outcomes. This is sales, collaborations, all that kind of stuff. So how are we feeling when it comes to new collaborations? Like we're connecting with people, we are collaborating and creating new things together. Are we like red? We don't have any collaborations. I don't even know where to start with collaborations. And then yellow is like, I have some collaborations coming in, but maybe it's like not really my dream connections or my dream collaborations, but it's a good place to start. And then green is like, yeah, I have like super cool collaborations coming in. I'm connecting with great people, all of that. So I'm seeing mostly yellow and a splash of red.
Can you clarify a little bit more what you mean about like collaborations?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is going to look different depending on what kind of business you have. This could look like you are going on podcasts and talking about your offers, your services, who you are, sharing about what you do. This could mean Instagram lives. This could mean just connection, sharing each other's information, things like that. Does that clarify? Okay, awesome. Okay, so it looks like we're mostly yellow and red. And then how are we feeling when it comes to community impact? Like yellow is kind of like, I don't even know if I'm making impact with the work that I'm doing, with what I'm sharing. Red is like, I definitely don't know if what I'm doing is making impact, or I'm not, you know, making any, you know, any shift in regards to that. And then green is like, I know that what I'm doing is making an impact on my community. I know that the work that I'm doing is making impact on the world. Yay, we got some green, we got some red, yellow. So I'll do a little splash of red, a little bit more yellow, and we got splash of green as well. Bring that around. Okay, we're almost there. So obviously the last piece of optimize outcomes is having aligned sales. So red is like, I'm either not having sales, or when the sales come through, it's kind of like I'm having really troublesome clients, people who aren't implementing, people who aren't really showing up actively in the offer. Yellow is like I'm having some sales come in, but it's not as much as I would like, or people aren't as active as I would like. And then green is like, yeah, I am having totally aligned sales coming through. People are super connective. I'm reaching my ideal client. I'm doing what I want to be doing. And people are getting value from that as well. We got some green and yellow. Yellow. Lots of yellow. Nice. Okay, so when we look at this whole picture, we can kind of see, there's a lot of yellow here. There's some splashes of green. There's some splashes of red as well. And my goal is for you guys to find green in all of these areas of your business so that you can show up feeling really confident in your business, in yourself. You're feeling really good about your systems, you have time freedom, you are clear with your communication, you're clear about your offer, you know you're making an impact, and you're getting those aligned sales. And all of this feeds into each other, right? Like with the circle, sometimes we might be working on our sales and then we realize we got to come back to our mindset because there's something beneath the surface to work through. Sometimes it means we got to come back to our systems because there's something in the system that is affecting those aligned sales as well. So it all feeds into each other. And that is how we come to a place of really embodying that radiant presence within our business and showing up on social media with total confidence in what we're talking about, what we're sharing, what we're selling, what we're offering, and how we're making impact in the world. Because ultimately we're showing up on social media to make that impact, right? So I promised you guys that you can't buy anything during this event, and I definitely am holding up to that promise. That's why we have this feedback call as well in exchange for you guys being here, so you can share your feedback and ask any questions about further mentorship from here. This is the model, this is the way that I kind of bring people through my program to get green in all of these areas and to stay green in all of these areas in their business. So I want to take a few minutes to show you what it would look like to work together in that capacity. You still can't buy anything today, but I want to do just a short little commercial to show you guys what it would look like to work together within the Radiant Presence Mastermind to help you get green in all of these areas. Is that okay with you guys if I did that? See a thumbs up from Anna. Thumbs up all around. Awesome. Cool. So when people come into the Radiant Presence Mastermind, and let me clear off all the colors. Okay. So when people come into the Radiant Presence Mastermind, everyone starts off with a one-on-one game plan session. And this is where we get really, really clear on where you're at with your business currently and what are the next steps that you need regardless of where you're at in your journey, because everyone's coming in from different places. And then we move into an onboarding process for 3 weeks where you get that foundational training and tools that you need to get set up for total success in your business and for the mastermind. So when we look at the success path, this is kind of what we're generally looking at in the mastermind. So when people start, in the first month and a half, I really typically see people getting really clear, really stable, really foundational with that mindset piece. Really initiating that confidence to show up so that everything just flows the rest of the way. And then by the third month, we're getting really, really clear on that creative strategy and those established systems. So there's automation in the business. You're not doing all the mundane admin tasks anymore. You're clear on your processes. You're clear on your step by step, so that you're never questioning what's happening next. By 4 to 4.5 months, usually we're getting really clear on the container. So even if you're already very clear on what your offer is, we get even more refined on how you're presenting that offer to people, how you're sharing it with the world, how you are connected to the offer, to your story, and how other people are connecting to it really clearly. And this also includes lead generation. So how can we establish more consistent lead generation for your business? And then by 6 months, we want to see those sales, the collaborations, the optimized outcomes coming through for your business with total ease. And it's important to note that everyone is coming in with different start points. So some people might go through this whole process and get here in the first 3 months. And then we come back to the mindset and we come back and we refine, we refine, we refine. Some people might only get to, here to creative strategy after, 6 months. It just depends on where you are. And the cool thing is that in this mastermind, it's designed to meet you where you're at so that you can learn and connect with a group to collaborate and expand without feeling like you're behind or anything like that. You're exactly where you need to be, and we're going to work with you every step of the way. And so how do we even promise that? How do we even work with you every step of the way? Let's talk about the support. How many of you guys have purchased something and you were promised all this support, and then you kind of got in and you felt like you weren't really getting what you were promised, you kind of felt forgotten about, it's like you were sold to and then ignored? How many of you? I see Anna, that big hand up. Yeah, for sure. That is not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling. We don't want that. That is like the last thing that I want for anyone to be feeling in general. And how many of you guys have just felt so unclear? Like when you get into something that you've paid for, you are so unclear about like, what is even the next step? Like, I've paid for this thing, now what? Yeah, that's also not a good feeling. We want to have clarity and feel like, okay, what I paid for is actually showing up for me. So that's why we start with that one-on-one game plan session, to make sure that you are super clear on what your individual next steps are, so that you know exactly where you're going, what to work on from the very beginning. We also have the weekly coaching calls where every other week we do group accountability calls where you can come on, bring your questions. It's like an open coaching. So we can workshop things together, we can refine things together, get it super clear. And then every other week there is a group training on a very specific topic so we can dive in deep together. And then we also have guest speakers. So there are going to be things, maybe questions that I can't answer to the best ability. I want to make sure that you guys have the best support possible when you come into this mastermind. So if there's something I can't confidently speak to, I'm going to bring on somebody who absolutely can. And even if it's something that I can speak to very well, I also love to bring on guest speakers just to give that variety of perspective as well. And we also have accountability and Slack support, because how many of you guys actually struggle to follow through with the things that you say you're going to do? Yeah, sometimes it can be tough to really follow through with the things when life is happening. So we have accountability woven into everything we do within the mastermind, and that Slack support as well. So that's a group chat where you can ask questions and get support in between our live sessions as well. We also have a recording and training hub. So this is a platform where you can go in and you can access all of the recordings from any of our trainings. You can go back and watch the replays. You can access all of the worksheets, all the templates, any resources that were given during that time. And also if there's any additional pre-recorded trainings, those are going up in here as well. And then we also have lots of templates and worksheets so that you can plug into it and you don't have to, do all the work yourself. There's templates and there's resources already ready for you. And of course, last but not least, if you have gone to all of the live sessions, you have shown up for accountability, you have shown up in the Slack chat, you've asked questions, you've watched the trainings, you've tried the templates, the worksheets, and you're still not where you want to be, we also have Code Red support. So this is like last case scenario, you can email and we will get on a one-on-one call with you to work through whatever is going on specifically in your business at that time. So really there are no gaps in this mastermind for anyone to get left behind, to get left out. there is so much support in place foundationally for you to really get the support you need so that you can get to that place where you are green consistently in all of those areas of your business. And let me tell you, like sometimes it feels impossible to get to that place of being green in all areas, like feeling really good in all areas of business. But it is absolutely possible. It can be easy. It gets to be easy when you have the proper support in place as well. So you guys might be wondering now, what is the pricing like for this program? So we have a 6-month love it or leave it renewal option. So you start off 6 months coming in, and the pay in full price is $7,000 for everything that I just laid out in the support with the tools and support there. And we do have payment plans available as well. So you can do 1,000 down and then 1,000 for 6 months. And then if you do choose to renew, because you're getting so much value and it's really supporting you, then you can renew for $1,000 a month from there. And for some of you, you might be thinking like, yeah, this is awesome. I'm totally in. Like that all sounds super reasonable for everything you're offering. And for some of you, it's going to be a bit more of a stretch. So that is totally fine. I've been known to do some very generous things for people because ultimately my goal is to help entrepreneurs experience like ease in their businesses, to be getting those aligned sales, to be getting the daily lead generation, to be getting the support and everything that they need to really grow and thrive in their businesses. Because when you're thriving in your business, that means we're making an even bigger impact on the world. Because what you have to offer, the gifts that you bring into this world are so vital for the expansion of our communities all over the world. And so that is why I'm so passionate about it. That is why I created this mastermind. That is why we're here today. Because I really, really want to see you grow and expand in everything that you have to offer. So don't let the price freak you out. If this is something that is sounding really resonant for you, we can always find a way to make it work that, you know, feels really good for everyone. So you guys should all have your feedback call booked and scheduled. Does anyone not have a feedback call scheduled? Everyone in here has their feedback call scheduled, yeah? Okay. It's super, super important, you guys, that you keep that call. Please try not to reschedule it because it does get a little complicated on the back end trying to reschedule all those calls. And it is super, super helpful if you can just keep those calls in place. And this is, you know, even if this program is not feeling like a fit for you, these feedback calls are super important for us to be able to connect on what really stood out to you during the event, any feedback that you have for me, and any further questions that you have in general, we can dive into on this feedback call. So I'm super excited to connect with you guys even more and hear your reflections about the training over the past 2 days. And I mentioned yesterday that I have a super special surprise for you guys, for those who are still on. I want to do, I know we have about 10 minutes left, and I want to open up for 1 to 2 of you to receive a free social media audit. And even if you're not receiving the audit, it is super helpful to kind of see what goes on with the audit. I see Anna's raising her hand. Okay, Anna, I see you're like riding a bike or something. Can you just
I can unmute.
Okay, perfect. So we can have this whole conversation. I'm gonna pull up your Instagram. Is that what you want to look at?
Yeah, my Instagram.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen so you guys can see. All right, let's go. So right off the bat, I love your profile picture because I think it's really a nice high quality picture. You can see your eyes, you can see your beautiful smile. So that's really awesome. One thing I would recommend here is changing your name to like a more readable font. I know it's super fun to have the cursive,
Okay, cool.
but it is a little bit hard to read. So just having that a little bit more clear, I think would be helpful. And then you could just clean this up a little bit by removing these arrows. It's personal preference, but for me, I just like to have a little bit more like clarity so that when people are looking up, for example, these keywords, which it's great that you have these keywords here. It's really easy for people to just see and have clarity on what your name is and then what you're offering as well. One thing about these keywords, I love that you have health, wealth, and embodiment, although it is like a little bit unclear what exactly it is that you're offering. I'm not sure if it's like health coaching, if it's life coaching, if it's something like that. It's not super clear. So I know that you work with Enagic and you do water ionization sales, and you're also building a business. So there's kind of that piece of, you know, sharing the lifestyle content, sharing about the business opportunity, but then also sharing about the product as well. So I'm wondering if there's something that you could experiment with changing this to something a little bit more clear. Doesn't necessarily have to be like a magic distributor, because that's not really searchable. We want these keywords to be searchable. But it could be something like water quality is a really great searchable thing. People are definitely trying to improve their water quality. So you could do water quality and affiliate marketing, something like that. And of course, it's up to you, like kind of explore what feels right. But those are two suggestions I would make, just because water quality is very searchable, it's very clear, and affiliate marketing is also very searchable and very clear. There's people who are out there who are like, I want to get involved with digital marketing or affiliate marketing, and I just don't know what's the best avenue to go. And so if they're looking at affiliate marketing, they're going to come across your page like a lot easier, a lot easier.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. So then your bio here, empowering creative women to make money online. Burnt out bud tender turned business woman, water fairy, dancer, holistic sister. Work with me. Okay, so a few things here. I love how you use the word empowering, and you speak to creative women as your niche, and you're empowering them to make money online. I would just take a moment to like reflect a little bit on what is the outcome of making money online. Like, what is the outcome that they want to feel and experience as a creative woman? Where are they at? Where do they want to go? How are they doing that through making money online specifically with you? And you could speak to that a little bit more clearly here as far as that outcome that they get to experience.
For sure. Thank you.
Yeah, but I love that you also kind of have your story really clearly here as well. Like, people who are in the cannabis industry, like, they know what this means, so they can connect to that story. It is super specific. So if you wanted to reach like a wider group of people, you could just put like burnt out employee or burnt out, you know, something a little bit more specific here, or non-specific actually, so that you can connect your story to a wider group of people, because sometimes it's really helpful to get hyper specific, and then sometimes it's great to open that up a little bit. And that's sort of an unpopular opinion, but I think especially when it comes to relating your story to people, you can connect with more people coming from different areas of life on the similar emotional experience.
Totally makes sense.
Awesome. Cool. And I love that you shared a little bit of your personality here as well, like water fairy, dancer, and holistic sister. But what I would kind of recommend, because this kind of bleeds into the work with me, and I'm guessing with all of this, you might not have a ton of space left to put anything else in the bio.
Mm-hmm.
So I would almost replace this with a more clear and specific call to action.
Okay.
So people are going to come onto your content and they're going to get more of a taste of who you are. They're going to like totally get this from your content.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't need to put this here, but what I would put is like really specifically, and I'm going to just take a look at this and see. Okay, so
Yeah.
you have an application, you have a connection call, you have a purchase link. There's kind of a lot going on here. And it's not bad to have options, but when it comes to like having clarity for people to understand this is the exact step that I take, I think it's really important to just have one. So if I'm someone who's interested in working with you and I come here, I'm like, so what do I do? Like, do I book a connection call? Do I have to do this application first? Do I need to
Right.
just like go ahead and buy? Like, I don't really know. So tune into what process feels best for you. If it's the application and then the discovery call, and then you get on a sales call to help them actually purchase, if that's what feels good, then just have the application.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. I would say, because I've been in the Enagic business myself, like the only purchase link that I've found to be helpful is having the multi-peer pre-filter purchase link, because it's a lower ticket item.
Mm-hmm.
And if you share a lot of content on your page about multi-peer, people are likely to go ahead and just purchase that. Same, like I think having all of this is fine too, especially if you kind of speak to it in your content. You're like, go to the link in my bio to get your blue bottle or your trace minerals, right? So I think
Right.
these things are fine to leave because they're kind of lower ticket purchases for people. But when it comes to working with you and when it comes to the Kangen machine, which is a higher ticket item, just have the application or have the discovery call, and then in your bio, make it really clear. Like, you can even have a question like, are you ready to like transform and like step into affiliate marketing, or whatever kind of messaging feels right for you and your
Mm-hmm.
business. Click the link below to apply.
Okay,
Click the
cool.
link below to apply, and we'll get on a short connection call to see if it's a good fit. And you want to keep this call to action pretty consistent through your content as well when you are guiding people who want to work with you. Make sure that people are clear they need to apply. Then we can have that discovery call, and then we can see if it's a good fit. Awesome. I think that'll help just people have more clarity on how to find you and how to connect in that way.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I also do really like all the cover photos that you have here. I like that they're pretty nice and clean. Maybe this could use some cleaning up just because there are
Yeah.
so many here.
Yeah, that's been on my to-do list. There's
Yeah.
way too many highlights. I need to like clean them up and get cover photos on all the ones that I'm keeping.
Yeah, totally. So in the meantime, I would maybe just go in and delete some of these because some of them are the same. Like you have
Mm-hmm.
voltage is probably the same as like alkalized, and like filtration is the same as something else.
Yeah, there's a lot of similar things.
Yeah. So like
I'm definitely gonna clean it up.
yeah, you can combine a lot of these together. Obviously that takes time. It's not like the biggest deal, but it does for me kind of show me like, for me it's like an energetic hygiene kind of a thing. So I'd
Yeah.
almost rather you only have like 2 or 3 highlights that you're using really intentionally than having all of this. Bye,
Mhm.
Alfredo, thanks for coming. Okay. And then like just a quick scroll in your feed. I really like how you're using a lot of natural photos for your covers. Like nothing's overly, curated. You're consistent with your fonts and the way that things look. So I think that is really, really good and consistent as far as that visual. Yeah. Do you have any questions?
No, I appreciate your feedback.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Glad it was helpful.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, does anyone else want to go for a quick social media audit before we hop off? Tilly or Marcia, do you guys want to go? Okay, Marcia, let's do yours. I'll pull it up. Okay. So, Marcia, you're so beautiful. I love this photo. It's like very natural. Love how you're in nature. You can see your smile. The one thing I would say is like, just with the glasses, it's like you can't really connect or see your eyes because the lenses are dark, like sunglasses. So if you have something where you can see your eyes well and it kind of, connects with who you are, I would maybe replace that with something where people can see your eyes and connect with you, because we subconsciously connect with people through eye contact. So even on social media, when we're able to clearly see the eyes, it allows us to connect to that person's soul easier, which is going to make people feel a bit more comfortable to connect with you in general. So I love how you have your name really clearly, and then you have a spiritual mentor and soul guide and life coach. So I would figure out how to condense these into like maybe 2 things, just because there's a lot of ands here, and like soul guide and life coach could maybe be kind of the same thing. Life coach is definitely very searchable for people who are looking for a life coach, and spiritual mentor I think is pretty good to have on there as well. So maybe it's just kind of taking out soul guide and just doing spiritual mentor and life coach, just to have a bit more clarity there. So then we have your bio. I help ambitious and driven women become unapologetic in living their soul desired life and business career. So, oh, Marcia, Soul Alchemistry. This is your business Instagram. Do you want me to do that one instead?
No, this one's okay. I'm sort of in the transition of, I'm still figuring out whether I want to keep my business account, but I'm a lot more active lately here.
Okay. I'm just going to take a quick look. So it's basically the same when it comes to your bio and everything, but your content, your feed looks a little bit different.
Yeah.
Little
For the past few years, I was posting mainly on my business account, and I'm sort of switching. I'm still a little uncertain whether I want to keep my business account, so I've been doing it more on my personal account. So that's why there's a little difference between my business and personal account.
Okay. So when it comes to kind of looking at, do I use like a brand business account or do I use a personal account? I'm kind of on the side of like, use the personal account, because people are more likely to follow and connect with you if they feel like they're connecting with a real person directly. With the business account, I mean, obviously you're in all the content, but there's something about like when it's not a picture of somebody in the profile and it's kind of like a brand name, like Soul Alchemistry, which I love that. But people might be a little bit more hesitant to respond to your messages or to connect with you. I Am Marcia Williams is like, yeah, I'm connecting with a human being, and I like that. It's easier to kind of let your guard down and just be like, I'm just connecting with a human. I think especially for being in the life coaching niche, people are going to want to connect with you personally.
Right.
So I do really like this bio. I help ambitious and driven women become unapologetic. I do think that we could shorten it and say what you're trying to say in less words. So like ambitious is kind of the same as driven. So you could just say, I help ambitious women become unapologetic in living their soul desired life. So again, I want to invite you to reflect on, first of all, what is their soul desired life? What does that look like? Obviously, it's going to be very unique for each person in this kind of work. You're probably connecting with people in various places of their life. But in a general kind of view of who you've worked with in the past or who you would like to work with in the future, what is their soul desire? What qualities are they looking for in their life and in their career? If they're ambitious, they might already be kind of unapologetic, but maybe they still don't have what their desire is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. So I would just workshop this a little bit more, get a little bit more clear and specific on what that soul desire is and how you actually help them with that. And then you have energetics and inner work, which to me tells me a little bit more about the kind of work that you do, because spiritual mentor could be like a lot of different things. Like, I don't know if you're like Christian kind of spiritual. I don't know if you're kind of like more in the like new age. I don't know if you're like full spectrum spirituality. So that kind of helps me get a little bit more clear on what kind of work you might be doing. Obviously, I would take this out as well. Take out the business Instagram thing if you're going to just focus on this account. And I would just move whatever content you really like from your business account over here and just repost it. And yeah, I think this kind of goes along the lines of how you help people. So maybe this could be, instead of a separate thing, it could be kind of blended into this sentence. So it's just a really clear statement of how you help people, who you help, and what you help them achieve. And then I'm going to take a look at your link as well. Okay. So looks like have a little connection here, which is nice. So excited, so excited to have you here in my little corner of the internet. It's really cute. I love it. Here are the ways you can be in my world to expand, heal, and transform yourself. So again, same thing I kind of told for Anna. We want to get really clear and be really specific with this link so people know exactly what they're doing. And we want to have a clear call to action as well, guiding them there. I like how you have these different like easy access offers. Cool. And this landing page looks pretty good. Oh, it's a great picture. For these landing pages, it's a pretty low ticket offer, but it might help to have some sort of video where you're actually talking to the camera and connecting with them and saying, you know, I'm so excited that you're here. Here's what we're going to explore. And still leave the text here for the people who don't watch the video. But I find for me, I'm more likely to actually buy something like this if there's a video of that person connecting with me and it's really clear, like, how does this actually work? How am I actually going to receive this? Is this, it's not super clear. Like, is this a one-on-one session? Is this a pre-recorded training? What exactly is the offer here? So I would maybe just kind of review this landing page, put some more details on what exactly this is. Like, I know it's a session, but is it a pre-recorded session? Is it one-on-one? just getting really clear and specific with that.
Right.
Experience your breakthrough. And then this is kind of similar thing. So I'm curious how these offers differ from each other, the one we were just looking at and then this one here.
So the first one is more of like a soul blueprint reading, where I mostly channel and gain information, especially for those that they've done the inner work, they've done the energy work, but they needing to understand who they are meant to be, what their next steps are in terms of like what the bigger picture is and messages from their spirit guides, God. And then this one is more of a mix between that one and a coaching session. So it's like a really quick one-on-one coaching session with a little bit of like intuitive magic, but it's more on like action orientated versus just I'm laying out the information, I'm providing guidance.
Okay, gotcha. So it is still a pretty similar offer, but with this one, you're doing a bit more of that one-on-one coaching with some like actionable items as well for them.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. So I would say I like that you have like your podcast linked here. You have some of these DM journeys. So
Yeah, that one I sort of haven't. Oh, it's actually connected to my business account.
okay.
Yeah, I'll have to change
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I think I'll clean it up and everything.
Cool. Yeah, I would just recommend cleaning it up and having like the main, like one main offer so that it's super clear how people are connecting with you. If you want to be getting more people, for example, into containers where you're working with them for 3 to 6 months, more than just these, one-off sessions, which are great too, and can lead to those more, permanent containers. You could also lead it to, again, like an application or a discovery call to connect and see if it's a good fit. Hi, Anna. Thanks for being here.
Right.
And that might just help you, or, like host an event or something like that, a live event where you can connect with a larger group of people on your expertise. And you can even bring this soul blueprint idea into that event. There's a lot of different ways where you could kind of combine and condense some of what's going on here just to be a little bit more clear and bring a little bit more value to the people who are coming into your space.
Right. That makes sense.
Cool. Glad that's helpful. And then just taking a quick look, I think you could be utilizing these highlights a little bit more I like how you have this like written poetry here, right? That's what this is, written posts.
Yeah, these are like my really old posts. It's not the recent ones. If you look at my business page, that's where like most of the highlights are. So it's like I'm basically recreating the social media page. I'm restarting. Everything is still pretty fresh and new.
Yeah. Had to mute for my dog for a second. But yeah, that makes sense. I would say as you transition, this is not going to be, so necessary. And I would use these highlights to do things like frequently asked questions, to share like your offers. This is where actually you could put in those smaller offers. And instead of having it in your bio link, you could have like an offers section, have those offers in there, and then have them DM you a specific keyword, or they can reply straight from that highlight to you, and then you can take it from there in the DMs. That way you have a little bit more like control in a sense of the process people are going through, so that they don't get kind of lost in all the stuff.
Right. I can do that.
Cool. And again, like with this is, I don't expect it to totally transform overnight. This is kind of like a thing that happens over time. But you can also come back and rewatch this and implement things along the way. And I think that your feed looks pretty good. Obviously there's kind of been a change in the look and the vibe recently. I like this big bold text you're using here and here. I just would like to see a little bit more consistency in the use of the text. Like this is obviously a different font. And obviously for a while you were doing this with the background. And I think that this looks a lot cleaner. These ones here look a lot cleaner and catch my eye a lot easier.